everyone. Jonathan Bailor back. Really have a treat for you today. We have one of the world's leading authorities in the field of women's health and wellness. She's been all over the world. You've seen her on PBS. She's regarded as one of the 100 most trusted people in America in 2013 by Reader's Digest. She's written 2 New York Times best-selling books. She's been on the Oprah show, Today Show. I mean, literally, we're talking upper echelons. We're not messing around on today's show. She's also a board-certified OBGYN physician who graduated from Dartmouth Medical School and did her residency at Tufts New England Medical Center. So we're also not woo-woo. It's like the best of both worlds. She's also a delight, and she's also sharing her time with us today. So let's put our virtual hands together for Dr. Christiane Northrup. Welcome, Dr. Northrup.
Oh, nice intro. That was really exciting. Got me all excited. You're good.
well, speaking of people who are good, Dr. Northrup, obviously there's many people who are trying to help women and people in general live better, but you seem to have a unique knack for it, as evidenced by the number of lives you've touched. Tell us a bit about your journey and what has interested you and led, you believe, to your success in the fields of women's health.
I think that what has led to the success of it is when I was a new medical student and first saw a baby born, I just was moved to tears. I thought I was going to fall on the floor weeping. And, I was with a group of women where we were one of the first en masse to go to medical school. And so women in the delivery room and women in the operating room it was not a common theme. So therefore I didn't want to appear like an emotional woman weeping. But I have found that those things which move us to tears are the most important things of our lives. That's the body's internal guidance system. Women just before their period will cry at Hallmark ads and all of that thing. And that's not because we're a hormonal wreck. It is because those things which are most meaningful to us are what move us, emotion. Our hearts are engaged. And so I think that's been the secret of my success is, yes, having intellectual rigor and getting the degrees and passing the tests and being board certified and all that's true. But I'll tell you what, when there is a conflict between the heart and the head, the heart wins every time. And sometimes you have to have a heart attack to listen to it.
Mm-hmm. I love that elephant and rider analogy, which I'm sure you're probably familiar with, which is that the emotional side of our being is a bit like an elephant, and the rational side is a bit like the rider on the elephant, who can tug on the reins as much as you want and might be able to exert some force over the elephant. But at the end of the day, the elephant's going to go the direction it wants to go.
Always. It's always that way. So therefore, we each need to pay attention to, and when it comes to our health, is there an unhealed 7-year-old running your endocrine, immune, and central nervous system? The beauty of now in medicine is we've got the science to show that our beliefs about ourselves generally put in place before the age of 10 are what drives our health. They're more important to health than cholesterol, exercise, what you eat, blood pressure, our beliefs about ourselves. And I think that is something that I have spent a lifetime learning, documenting. The famous ACE study, the Adverse Childhood Experiences study, been taken over by the CDC, shows that those people who had 1 to 10 adverse childhood experiences use the emergency room more, die sooner, are the ones who go to the doctor all the time. And it's because of the psychoneuroimmunology of feeling ashamed of yourself, that you're not enough. Guilt says, I made a mistake. Shame says, I am a mistake. And if you're a woman, women didn't get the right to vote till 1920, and 1 in 3 women around the globe will be raped or beaten in her lifetime. With men, the feminine side of men is beaten up, and you guys are taught that the highest form of service you can possibly give is to go and get yourself killed. So you see that these things are an anti-living message, and we women need to be more like flowers, really own our flower nature, which through beautiful smells, beautiful colors, beauty itself is what keeps life going. 1/3 of the food on the planet, maybe more, is there because of pollinators being attracted to flowers. And flowers have all kinds of wonderful, wonderful things that they do to keep life going. And that's the feminine life force, things we do to make life worth living, you see.
It strikes me that maybe one way we could refer to what we're talking about here, Dr. Northrup, is the soft side of hard science, because it even set off a bit of a bell in my head that so much of today's dialogue around just hard science, it has to do with chronic inflammation. So chronic
yes, doesn't it though? Absolutely. That is it. That's the key to all of it. Chronic inflammation. What causes chronic inflammation? Actually, shame. Do you believe it? Shame causes chronic inflammation. Just before you called, I was writing about the adrenals and adrenal exhaustion, adrenal burnout, and the third chakra, which is our self-esteem, personal power, gut feelings, all of that kind of thing. And when you feel ashamed because you feel like you're too fat, too old, too fill in the blank, you're actually producing low-level inflammatory chemicals in your body all the time, 24/7. That's what drives you to eat sugar, because sugar is an opiate. It dulls the pain. We numb ourselves in this culture to our feelings. You know, we are the most over-medicalized, over-medicated generation to ever exist on planet Earth. And it all comes from this tendency to want to numb ourselves to what we know and what we feel. But the cool part is the minute we know that and see that, we can change it. And moving through shame can't exist with humor, with light, with lightness, and being spoken. You know what they say in the 12-step program, you're only as sick as your secrets. So the minute I'm always amazed when women say to me, like in hushed tones, I was sexually abused. It's like, take a number. That's like so common. Back in the day when I first started in women's medicine, I would notice there was a big correlation between chronic pelvic pain and sexual abuse in childhood, which, the kid thinks it's their fault. When we're little, we think everything's our fault. We're egocentric. That's our epistemology. And so I would notice this. And my colleagues would say to me, you see all the nutcases. We see normal women. Like, are you kidding? Then I found the same thing in Germany and in Australia. And so we've had a culture in which the soft, like what you were saying, the soft side, men, what are men called? Sissies, pussies. You're a little girl. Wow, huh? Wow, the vulnerability. Where all the creativity and all the joy comes from is when we're vulnerable and we're not ashamed of it. One of my favorite movies is Almost Famous, and there's a great line in there. Philip Seymour Hoffman says to the kid who's writing the piece for Rolling Stone, let me tell you something, kid. You're not cool. I'm not cool. I'm home on a Saturday night. But the only currency in human discourse worthy of anything is what two people say to each other when they're not being cool.
Dr. Northrup, it really is something that needs to be explored, because if we look at what you just said, which rings of such deep truth, and you look at, let's say, an individual who's maybe a postmenopausal woman who's feeling shame about the way she looks, the way our culture will tell her to handle, so she's feeling shame. She has this, that's contributing to chronic low-level inflammation. And part of the reason she's probably looking or feeling the way she is in the first place is also because of chronic low-level inflammation. And then she's told to fight, like to starve her body and to stress it even more through just continuous exercise. It's like you're taking a stressed, broken system, and the solution, in quotations we're given, is to apply more violent stress to it.
Yes. Okay, I want to tell you something funny. So this is really funny because I saw this in my own life. All right, so I have done, full disclosure here, kids. I have personally, because of that postmenopausal weight gain thing, I did the HCG diet, human chorionic gonadotropin, the little injections.
Yep.
The FDA does not approve of this. Okay, they don't approve of much that has to do with, I won't get into that. Anyway, so I did this because it made sense to me, and I'm a big fan of HCG. It is the hormone that's part of the pregnancy test, so I'm quite familiar with it, and I know that we have tons of it coursing through us when we're pregnant. So I thought, this is a tiny amount, little homeopathic dose. Who cares? And then it's 500 calories a day. And there's no question that worked like a charm. That worked like a charm. I was up to what I weighed when I gave birth to my second. It was like kind of horrifying, like almost 150. I'm 5'4". So, I got down to 137, which I really like. That's a weight I'm comfortable at, even though 17 magazine, when I was much younger, said I should weigh 115. I realized that's a crock because I have a large bone structure, but I did spend, let's be clear, let's talk about shame. Well, I spent about 35 years thinking I was supposed to weigh 115. Dr. Phil would say, how's that working for you? It never worked. So, I've been on a chronic diet, really, for most of my life because I have this large bone structure, but I didn't know it. And so I'm always trying to get down to, this like twiggy stuff. Plus, everyone's told that you're a slob if you're not a size 2. All women, we go through this. I'm part of this. But now here's the part I want you all to know, because this is really important. So then I would, slowly gain the weight back. And then I was working with a woman who said, well, you have to weigh yourself every single day. So for a year, I'm not kidding, I traveled with a scale. I got a really cheap, thin one at Walmart. And I traveled with a scale. So, the minute you're up 2 pounds, what I call water weight, then you cut down on the calories again, 500 calories, and da-da-da-da. But it's a constant. What it is this. I was talking to a friend of mine who I go to for dream analysis, Doris E. Cohen. Any of you want a good reader with past lives and all that, Doris is your person, Doris E. Cohen. But anyway, I'm doing that, and I'm talking about mammograms and all the things that women do because they're afraid that their bodies are going to turn on them, right? So we have to get constant surveillance of our breasts and our cervix and everything else. And I've always known for most women that over-testing is kind of a crock. I mean, I know that. It's 70,000 women a year are overdiagnosed with so-called breast cancer when it's ductal carcinoma in situ. And, I've written extensively about that. And then Doris points out to me that I'm talking the same way about my weight as I would be talking if I were a woman who was terrified of my body and thought I needed a physical every 6 months. I was talking about my own weight the same way. I can't trust my body. I got to step on that scale every single day or my body will betray me. No matter what I do, I will gain weight. I thought, wow, what a revelation. It's true. I was acting like, you can't trust your body. You will gain weight no matter what you do. You will gain weight walking by a cookie. Well, when I did I want your readers to know this because your listeners, you talked about the calorie myth. I went on that HCG diet, and so did another friend of mine, a PhD in nutrition, 2 more times in 20 days of 500 calories. Listen to this, everyone. 20 days of 500 calories. Each of us lost 3 pounds.
Jeez.
This is not possible by the laws. People still believe calories in, calories expended. If you eat this cookie, then you go run half a mile to burn. It doesn't work this way when you have this constant terrorist inside your head that is telling you got to be under constant surveillance or this body is going to turn on you. And when you change that and you start to be kind, we're back to the soft stuff, the feminine stuff, kind to yourself, kind. And you start to treat your body. If you had a 2-year-old in your house, would you be yelling at your 2-year-old? What are you doing eating that? What do you mean you want that? We treat ourselves so poorly. We treat ourselves worse than we would ever treat any other human being by the messages in our minds. So I've been refining this for, 50 years. And this is my latest iteration. And consequently, I haven't stepped on the scale all summer. And then I just did a treatment with Sandra Chu, an acupuncturist from New York City who was just up visiting. And we did releasing of the fascia in the low back. And my pants fit better. Because she said when your pelvis is tilted a certain way, then you're going to feel bloated, but it's not fat. It's bloat. And so I'm a big fan now of we have to do things to keep our fascia, that is the connective tissue that connects the muscles to the skin, to the bone underneath, to the organs. When that's free and moving and not scarred and held down, then everything else is free and moving as well. And eventually, yes, you'll get to the point where you're not eating crappy food. I mean, I haven't had a McDonald's meal or a junk meal in years. I don't like the way it feels in my body. And yes, I pretty much avoid gluten and all the rest of it. But when you have the belief that no matter what you do, your body, you got to be under constant surveillance. I mean, my parents would say things when I was little, she's built like an MACK truck. Well, that kind of leaves a mark. Mm-hmm. So this is right down to bone marrow with the weight thing. Yes, we need to exercise. Yes, we need to be fit. But if we are out there exercising in a way to beat our bodies into submission, like these boot camp things or all of that, it is not sustainable. So what's necessary is a wonderful, sustainable way to move your body. For me, that's Pilates, Argentine tango, and taking some walks. That's pretty much it. I'm not doing, although I have to say the Sprint 8 workout for cardiovascular is pretty amazing. On an elliptical trainer, I learned about that through Joe Mercola, and that increases growth hormone rather dramatically, and it only takes 20 minutes.
Dr. Northrup, some key words you mentioned, which resonate so deeply, are being free, moving, and really not getting clogged up. I use this analogy of a clogged sink, and it's talking about getting clogged up not only physically, not only from an inflammatory perspective, but also psychologically. Because we see as we age, tell me if there's anything to this here, we see as we age, we continue to eat and exercise the same way we always have, but then the quote-unquote weight just mysteriously creeps on. But if we understand that both psychologically and metabolically, when we don't put quality in, and I'm talking about thoughts as well as food and physical movement, when we don't put quality in, we develop clogs. And that brilliance, that beauty of the body that should keep us happy and healthy without any effort, because that is the natural state, is no longer able to function. And then we treat that clog with like violent, further clog causing approaches.
That's exactly right. That's right. We ream out the stuff. I remember years ago, I was speaking on stage with William Castelli, the founder of the famous Framingham Heart Project, and he was showing angiograms of monkeys with clearing of their arteries with diet. And they clearly had gotten over their cardiovascular disease with diet. He said, now the only problem is in this country, you have to be a monkey to get the right treatment. we know that coronary artery bypass does not save lives. It does not prolong life. It does prolong the financial well-being of a hospital for a while. So our bodies will heal themselves when we do the unclogging, but there's no question. I like what you said. I've been listening to a lot of work with Mario Martinez, who recorded the Mind-Body Code. He's the founder of the Institute of Biocognitive Science, which is how our culture and our beliefs affect our biology. And what he points out is getting older is inevitable. Aging is optional. And I know that to be true. First of all, because I'm taller than I was when I was 25, and I also am healthier than I was at 25. My eyesight hasn't really changed since I was 13. I got warped eyeballs then because I was going to be a girl, and I said, oh, God, this is going to be a problem. But still, what I see, and Martinez has studied centenarians around the world, healthy centenarians. And what he points out is geriatrics is the study of the pathology of aging. But all of that is optional, and that's what you're doing on this podcast is empowering people to know that we do not need to be facing prescription drugs for seniors, being disabled and needing walkers, or we don't. That's all optional. My mother went to Mount Everest Base Camp at the age of 84. I mean, that's 100 miles, pretty much straight up. So this stuff that we think about getting older, and by the way, it starts to affect people when they're about 30. My hairdresser just turned 29, and her friends are saying to her, what are you going to do next year? What, like some grim reaper is going to come in and take over my body at 30? Seriously. So we need to change first our beliefs, and then we need to create, because we're so influenced by the people we hang with. I'm sure you know this data. Like if your whole family is fat and eats a lot of junk food and a lot of soda and stuff, it's going to be very hard to be the one person who's left out of that, because breaking bread together, by the way, is one of the best stress relievers on planet Earth. Breaking bread together, not watching TV alone and the news while you're eating, which gives your digestion terrible stress hormones. You don't digest anything that way. But we need to create subcultures of vibrant health, you see.
And it seems like maybe sharing spinach rather than breaking bread might be a better way to classify that.
And isn't that true? I mean, we've got this term, breaking bread. But, I don't buy bread anymore, except for, when my Greek friends come over. And then, that's a cultural thing that's so big, we're not going to get over that one. I'm going to buy the artisanal loaves and dip it into the sauce because, I'm just going to do it.
Dr. Northrup, this is obviously we could fill the entire day. I've got a pad full of notes here, so we've got to have you back on the show. But I know you're an incredibly, incredibly busy woman. So what's next for you?
I am doing a live online course with Hay House starting October 21st, 3-part live online course. And this is going to be embodied wisdom. And it's how you can use the wisdom of your chakras for vibrant health. Just the sorts of things we were talking about, self-esteem and how that relates to what you eat and that kind of thing. So for more information about that, for information about everything, you just go to my website, Dr. Northrup, DrNorthrup.com.
And that live course was, again, on October 21st, starting October 21st.
And then it's the 2 subsequent weeks as well. And then if you can't be on it live, then those who sign up can also get it on an MP3 that will be sent to them, as well as some PDF handouts, so that they really have it. It's like me teaching a course on how you use the incredible wisdom of your body, so that you can really, I want everyone to sort of stay out of the doctor's office. There's no health to be bought there. There's, getting out of an emergency, but no health really.
Listeners, so much truth and so much hope, which gets me excited. Dr. Christiane Northrup, thank you so much for joining us today. Hope to have you back on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Listeners, I hope you enjoyed this fabulous conversation as much as I did. And please remember, this week and every week after, eat smarter, exercise smarter, based on this conversation, be nicer to yourself and live better. Chat with you soon.